In today's video, I'm going to show you how to integrate Gemini Pro with Bubble. Most of you guys would be aware that Bubble is a no-code solution, and Google has just released their latest Gemini Pro API. By the end of this tutorial, you would know exactly how to build any app using Bubble and integrate it with Gemini Pro API. So let's get right into it. Search for app is to search for AI Google Dev Gemini, and that's the website we need to go to. So there's two ways we can integrate with Gemini Pro API. One is the Google AI Studio. The second one is the Vertex AI. Vertex AI is for enterprises, and Google AI Studio is to build quick and dirty apps. So we're going to be using Google AI Studio. So let's click on that, open it in a new tab. Right. So what we're going to do is first create a prompt, and we can test the output of the prompt in this part. And the second is we need to create an API key. So let's create an API key. So I've already created an API key here. So I just gotta copy that. And now let's move on to the docs. Now docs are very important because that tells us what the prompt should be, what should be the nature of the JSON which we need to load into Bubble API. So let's go read API docs, and we're gonna head to REST API quick start because Bubble allows us to use REST API to integrate with external APIs. So let's click on that. You can get an API key from this part as well, but we've already got that. Now let's look at the request, how the curl command uses. If you pay attention, this is the URL which we need to use, and then the header we need to pass in is key, type key, and the value as API key. And the another header we need to pass in is the content type, which is of application JSON. And then the data is this part, contents, parts, and text. And text, this part is what essentially would be the prompt. And there's further, if you see, there's further stuff in here about the safety rating, category, and prompt feedback, and other stuff. So what you're going to do is we're going to head back to Bubble, and in here we're going to use the API connector and add another API. I'm going to call it Gemini Pro. The authentication, the private key and URL, this is based on the Google Docs. So if you see, this is the security type, the authentication mechanism. Key name is key, and the key value is what we saved when we got the API key from Google in our first step. Let's put that in. Then now in terms of shared header, this is essentially content type. So let's copy it here, and content value, application JSON. Now let's make the API call. Let's call it expand. Let's call it as Gemini generate text. This would be as an action, not as a data, because we want to receive the data from Gemini Pro from Google rather than we passing them the data. Data type would be JSON. Now the method would be post, and this we can look at the documentation again. Method type is post. Now this is the URL we're gonna copy, generate content, and paste it in here. Now add The body type is JSON, and this is what we need to copy. Let's move to the Google AI Studio, and let's create a new chat prompt. And I've already created a prompt. I'll just paste it in there. It says, I'm feeling down, provide a quote from Buddhism, Stoic, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism. For the situation described before, return the result in a tabular format. Now, I don't want to hit enter because I don't want the response to be part of my JSON body. So head on to get code and go to curl. Now, what we're going to do is copy all the data from this part, keep on going and till the end of the curly brackets. Head to the bubble editor and paste it in there. Now remember, we want to make the prompt as dynamic. For now, let's put it in, remove these things with a variable called prompt. Is the dynamic value which we would provide from the GUI. Now says okay, so here comes prompt, and what we're going to do is copy the prompt we had created and untick this box. This is very important, otherwise this data doesn't get passed in. So now we're going to initialize the call. All right, so let's look at, we got a response from Gemini. Now let's look at the raw data. If you see in raw data, there's candidates, there's content, parts, and text. So there's this whole hierarchy of the response. So when we extract the data in Bubble, we need to remember this part. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. So on screen, so that I know what I need to follow. So save. Now let's head back to the design. We created the design and it's pretty simple. So there's a text which says, how are you feeling today? And there's an input box where the user is gonna input how he's feeling. And then I've got another input box or visual element where we're gonna hide our prompt, or what I'm gonna call is the pre-prompt. And then there's a submit button. Once that's submitted, it's gonna hit the Google API, and the response gonna be displayed in this multi-line input visual element. So the name of this particular element is output text, and name of this particular element is input or input text, you could say. Now let's head to the workflow. So when the user clicks the submit button, the action we're gonna take is call our API, Gemini PRO text, and this is the hard-coded prompt. Now what we need to do is we need to make it dynamic. We're gonna say take it from the inputs value, that's the text, and then there's a hidden pre-prompt. So let's get the pre-prompt, give it a space, then again say insert a dynamic value. This time it needs to be the pre-prompt and pre-prompt's value. That's it. So this is gonna call the Gemini PRO API, and on the return we're gonna collect the information. So let's click on here. We're gonna create a custom state where we're gonna store the output from the step one. So the index is the name of the page, and in the custom we're gonna create a new custom state which we're gonna call as Gemini response, and it would be of type text. Create. In value, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the results of step 1. Now we're going to refer back to the screenshot we had taken from the API call we did. So if you remember, we did this, and if you see here, let's move it here, and if you see, it says candidates, content, and then paths, and then text. So candidates, then because it's a list, so we're gonna say item, first item. Then the next one is the contents, content parts. Then again, it's the first item, and it's text. I hope I got it right. So let's go back again. Content parts, first item, text. Okay. So what we are essentially doing is whatever is returned from the API call, we storing into a custom state called Gemini response. And then this custom state value is set, and we're gonna put that value into our output text on the design page. So now let's move to the design page. In here, if you double click, we're gonna say, so index is the insert dynamic data. So the value returned from Gemini API is stored in the custom state, which is under index, Gemini's response. Close that. So I'll just quickly show you what is in the pre-prompt. If I double click the pre-prompt says provides a code from Buddhism, Stoic, Christianity, and blah blah, and return the result in a tabular format. And this is hidden by setting this particular parameter opacity to 0%. Let's test this out. Head to preview. How are you feeling today? I am feeling a bit sad today. Hit the submit button. So now it says Buddhism, the root of suffering is attachment. Stoicism, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Nietzsche says, he who has a why to live can be almost anyhow. So that's a great response. Now let's try again. Something. I am feeling really passionate. Let's hit submit. Passion is the root of suffering. Now this is great. The Stoicism, the greatest wealth is to live content with the little. Christianity says love is the greatest commandment. And Nietzsche says, embrace the chaos, for within it lies the power to create. So I like all of these responses, and all of them are great. So this was just a quick demo wherein we integrated Bubble with Gemini Pro API. If you guys like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.